Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Heal Your Mind, Heal the World podcast. My name is Anne Marie Morales, and today I have with me a gentleman known on TikTok as Brad of ARC. And Brad is a consciousness researcher using DMT, and he and his team have come through have brought through incredible uh, technical scientific information. And by all intents and purposes, his journey is just beginning, and he's here to share that with us. And so, without further ado, welcome, Brad, to Heal Your Mind, Heal the World podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk with everything that's been happening in my life and our group. It gets kind of wild, but I don't get the opportunity to talk about healing. And we've learned so much about it. So I'm really excited to kind of dig into that today.
Oh, terrific. Okay, yes, I can't wait to hear all about it. Before we begin with that information, can you talk to us about how have you become this researcher? How did that end up happening? Give us your story.
So in 2020, so I'm prior military. And so in 2020, with the pandemic was starting, you started seeing these articles coming out about how dimethyltryptamine, which is the most powerful psychedelic on the planet, was curing PTSD in veterans. There were these groups that were getting together to support veterans because PTSD is a big issue and a very primary concern for the Veterans Affairs Association, or the Veterans Affairs VA. And so but as I'm looking at it, like I'm wondering how this works, it's got a success rate that's pretty extreme. If the first time you ever do it, 92% of the people that do it would say that's the most profound experience that they've ever had, and it only lasts 5 minutes. And so I didn't know much about it. I'd never done psychedelics. But it was seeing more and more traction, more and more people talking about it, and starting to talk with some of my buddies from the military that had explored mushrooms or DMT in the past. It changes their lives. And so, but the interesting thing is once you start learning about it, you start hearing the stories where people are interacting within the same spaces and it feels familiar, and that the beings that they're interacting with are giving real life guidance, and it seems external. And so I was just kind of hooked. It was being a plant medicine that's not exactly legal, depending on where you're at, was difficult to find. So I just did thousands and thousands of hours of research, reading all sorts of trip reports, all the medical and advancements with Dr. Andrew Gallimore. So that's really how it started. And so then over the next few years, was able to experience this over 1,000 times. And so, which is not common. It is such a profound experience, and it is overwhelming, but not many people are going to go down that path. But we've met a couple of people along the way that have done the exact same thing, and they were kind of getting to the point you kind of graduate through its development of you, and it's such a healing experience as it is. And so what we were starting to see were patterns, that things were repeatable, and information that we were being given was being able to something that was functional in this reality. And so there's something that happens when you understand the moment that you start realizing that what you're experiencing is real beyond any shadow of a doubt, it kind of flips a switch. And so from that moment, you then turn it into a tool. And so you can force a gamma brainwave spike that forces your crown chakra to explode open. When it happened, we didn't really quite understand what was happening. I didn't even know chakras were real. Actually, I would have told you that there was no way that those were real. I thought they were just pretty pictures in a yoga shop. But they won't understanding how all that works. It's just once that crown chakra is open, your ability to connect to and have these interactions significantly increases. And so it is, in all intents and purposes, a reverse Kundalini, forcing the crown chakra open first instead of working through the root and working it up. And then from that moment on, I was able to show another colleague a lot of my data right after I had some extraordinary experience happen with the but what happened, the same thing happened to him within a week. And so we realized that's when we figured out what the mechanism was that causes this to happen and that it was inducible. And so then we've just been able to repeat this over and over and over with all of these different people. And when that happens, yeah, everybody with a soul has guides that are attached to them. And they're a mixture of, sometimes they're angels, sometimes they're ascended masters, sometimes they're ancient beings. When this happens, every time you do DMT after that moment, you're locking in. It stops being a psychedelic, and so these things beings started showing up every time. Um, and so then you're able to ask questions, get information, get direct guidance as if they're sitting across the table from you. But like anybody that would have the ability to do this, we're asking all the same questions that everybody has asked. We started being given advanced quantum equations, advanced information about how this reality works, universal laws that we didn't know existed, and it just helps you navigate your life so much better. But one of the coolest things that we found, which is this technology is kind of different compared to the rest of the information we have. It's an outlier, but it is. We've got the architecture of the external field of consciousness. We've got the internal math that explains the internal coherence in the framework internally, and we have the connective piece. So there's three layers of consciousness, and so we have all of that math that allows us to be able to know what to measure, to be able to verify coherence with the consciousness field. But because we can do that, we can now understand so much of what it could take to heal, because a lot of our chronic issues, like autoimmune disorders, autonomic issues, are because your body's not in regulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of balance. And so we know how to use celestial frequencies and the right way to do that based off biofeedback that we're getting from the people that are working through this. And we can either induce enlightenment states or healing states based off of just coherence and frequency.
Yeah, wow. You have, first and foremost, when you're talking, I'm hearing light language, and it's just pouring
That's
through
awesome.
me right now. Um, uh, and I just want to backtrack a little bit because I stuck on one thing that you said, that there were three layers to consciousness. Now, in my experience being a hypnotherapist and what I view the human experience to be in terms of energy and consciousness, I call it the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. Would that
Mhm.
correspond with the information that you've found out? Under
Yeah.
just explaining just a second, consciousness is us talking right now. Subconscious is the memory of our entire egoic experience, as you being Brad, me being Anne Marie.
Mm.
It's that field of memory that remembers 11,000 bits of information per second, right? That's where the hypnotherapist can go into the past to bring up the minutest memory that is storing trauma, etc. And then the superconscious is where we go, let's say in a past life regression, or in my case, in a starseed session where I take you to meet your star aspects. That's my definition of the three levels of consciousness. What is it that you have discovered? And maybe they might correlate.
So there's the external consciousness field that is primary, and that's where we're missing a lot of information in our understanding in physics, is because that field is primary above all. There is how your body interacts with it, and the coherence, basically being able to measure your soul. Um, so there's an internal framework that then uses we'll call it bioengineering layer with the corpus callosum, your DNA, your blood type, all of these different frequencies in your body work together. And you're basically an antenna for the consciousness field. And so with DMT, it is in every living thing, and they didn't understand why, but it's in every living thing in trace amounts because it is the molecular mechanism that allows us to work and connect to the consciousness field. It works with the microtubules in your brain, so you're getting into Rupert Sheldrake's work, and we'll be able to validate everything that he has. And so the more you have in your system, it forces you into coherence, and you're tuning yourself to a harmonic constant that physics didn't know existed. We've been able to verify this with Terrence Howard, um, Robert Edward Grant. We've got a couple of our major consciousness researchers, um, that harmonic even exists is a huge. It's going to be a huge discovery once we release it, because the only reason that exists is because we aren't in an open and expanding universe. We are in a closed one, and it's a return signal that's happening. And so physics hasn't known to look for it, but we've been able to identify it, from everywhere, from the microtubules in brain. That ratio shows up there. It shows up for Terrence Howard. It was given to him by a being in his dreams, and that's where he gets all of his advanced geometry. We are getting it from the DMT space and the quantum physics we've been given. We've also been able to identify the energetic geometry of our planet. When we get into ley lines, they think they know. Nobody actually really knows. There's not a real accurate map. What it is there's two different systems that are causing ley lines and energetic vortexes and energetic hotspots. But when you go back through ancient history, we've mapped 419 UNESCO sites that were used for ancient sacred sites. And when we map them out, there's four of these spirals that are created by this harmonic constant ratio. They're all in energetic hotspots. And then when you start mapping it out, the vast majority of these ancient sites are lining up with these lines in energetic zones.
Oh my goodness, that is exciting. Can you give us a couple
Well,
of
it's the
these?
major ones you're getting into: Machu Picchu, Punku, Teotihuacan, Uluru, Giza. Like, one of the spirals actually generates from Karnak in Egypt.
Ooh,
But all of where they're anchored are all on geological hotspots. There's a reason there.
mhm.
It's linked. We're still trying to figure out that exactly what is causing that to bond there. But yeah, basically, we have all these questions like everybody else does, and we just have some advanced beings that are able to just tell us all of this stuff, and it's just been the most incredible experience. And now that there's more people that can do this, like the consciousness stuff. So the main equation that came through was the external consciousness layer. That was the first one, and then we meet somebody we didn't know who has the internal architecture, and then we meet another person that we didn't know who has the mechanical engineering piece of it. And so we didn't realize that until we put it all together, and it just unlocked. And then, okay, we have all of it. And so, but what's crazy too is that, like one of these guys specifically was a former pastor, didn't graduate high school, but when you hear him talk, he understands quantum physics like a PhD. And what we thought, we were absorbing all of this information, but that's not what's happening. Now that we have a better understanding, of been doing this for a while, we're starting to remember these things from previous lifetimes.
Yep.
And so it's just basically just putting that amnesia mechanism. Like, when you start understanding your past lives, it starts breaking down that amnesia mechanism.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
Oh my goodness, that's so much in line with a lot of my experiences. Um,
mm,
Even now I'm experiencing connecting with people that I've known in other iterations. I
yeah,
mean, going back to the Orion Wars, like we're
mhm,
neighbors and friends now.
yeah,
And we're getting all these, like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And it's kind of the same like what I felt with you. When I first saw your videos, I just got this like, oh, like I know him.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
reached out to you and I was like, dude, sorry, it's going to sound weird, but I really feel like I know you, like I've known you, like, hey, here we go together again, kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
happened a
beautiful.
lot.
Yeah,
My wife and I have found each other in over 400
I
lifetimes.
love that.
She killed me in one of them. It's just kind of funny. Which, when that came out, we couldn't help but laugh. But like, even people that have shown up that we didn't know, or in our soul group, we've been able to verify all of that. But even so, I'll get messaging that I need to reach out to a friend that I haven't talked to in 10 years. But with these people that I'm being asked to plant seeds with, or whatever you want to call it, it's all friends that it doesn't matter how long we've been apart. we just pick right back up. It's that level of a friendship. But
Yeah.
every one of them, once we get that switch to flip, like one of my dearest friends from when we were 15, uh, has only smoked a cigarette in his life. But I was guided to tell him what was going on. Didn't really want to tell him all this crazy stuff because we hadn't talked in a long time. And then, 6 months later down the road, he's like, "Hey, I feel like something's been laid on my heart that we need to explore this." And so we explore that. We get it to happen for him. His guides, he can hear them all the time now. Different people have different levels of interaction when they're not on the molecule. Some of them can hear them all the time. Some of them can still see them all the time. But it's kind of funny. One of his guides is Sarai, which is Sarah from the Bible. It's Abraham's wife. And so she's really funny. She's really sarcastic, but we've known each other for lifetimes. And so she he'll go to church and like they'll be preaching on a message and she's in his ear chirping like that is not what that means or that didn't happen that way. He just gets just complete guidance and feedback, which I would love. I wish I had that one. That would be really cool. But
Hmm.
I'm telling you, this is the way this is unfolded. Like even with my that I had a supernatural experience. The For like weeks after you mentioned star seeds, which is where I'm kind of I want to touch on that. For weeks after, every time I would tap in, I wouldn't see anything DMT related at all, except for exactly what I was supposed to be shown. But outside around certain stars, there were lights flashing around certain stars. Okay, that's weird. And it's repeatable. Every time it would happen again. So then I got one of those Skywatcher apps trying to figure out like what's going on. And then we realized, okay, it's the same stars. What do have all these have in common? So over the next couple of nights, we started taking notes on which ones they were. Not into astrology or anything like that. And so I plugged them all in. What do all of these have in common? Like, well, these are commonly related to star seeds. And I'm like, what is this? What is that? So, I'd only known about it from a 90s Our Lady Peace song that I really loved. Only time I'd ever heard that word. But as things have unfolded, that's been just more reinforcement that that is exactly what's happening.
Oh yeah, I I know that to be true. But how long has these experiences been happening? So when did this start for you?
Yeah, so I've been exploring it for years, but everything took a shift October 13th of 23. And had an interaction where they basically explained that something significant was going to happen, but there was no context at all. I didn't understand any of it. Just I remember telling my wife, I was like, they tell me it's this important thing that's going to happen, and then nothing.
Ah,
There's nothing. Like I don't know what to do with that. And so over the next few months, the experiences started getting increasing, and I was learning more and more, and it was feeling like it was being steered in a direction. And then that was October, and then July that next year, everything took a big twist. But in that time frame, that's when I had that we call the point of gnosis, where we call that where the crown chakra opens up. That had happened, and so we had made some connections with some people in the DMT and consciousness space in that time. Like, are you familiar with the DMT laser experiment?
yes, as a matter of fact, I was going to ask you about it. So I'm glad you brought
Yeah.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so Danny, his discovery was really critical for where we're at today. So he had found that if you shine a diffracted laser beam on anything in this reality under the influence of DMT, you adjust your eyes like one of those old 3D posters, and then these symbols would emerge and like they would parallax into the wall, like another dimension. And but didn't know what it was, but it was repeatable. So now at this point, thousands of people have seen the exact same thing. They're little tiny symbols, they're small, and they move. And but he had made a comment as he was explaining this in the video that I saw that it looks like Japanese katakana. And I, being in the Navy, knew what that was. I was stationed in Japan, and it's the Japanese phonetic alphabet. I had it on my name tag. But I'm a polymath, so I just absorb a lot of information in general and just retain it. And I just had known about this obscure document from the 1980s from a UFO UAP reverse engineering lab in Palo Alto, California called CARET, CARET, and that they said that these symbols look like Japanese katakana. But I had this really strong gut intuition feeling like, okay, I know those are connected. So I reached out to Danny and I said, "Hey, is anybody be able to draw these?" At that point, they'd been able to draw seven. Like I said, they're small and they move. They're hard to catch. And so he sends that over to me. I take the seven symbols he has. Four of them are on this document over 100 times. So that was the key moment for me. I needed something to happen in the DMT space, was information that I could connect to something in this reality and have it connect. And from that moment, you kind of lose the ability to have the false psychedelic situation anymore. Like, oh no, this is real information. Um, Danny's situation being showed him how to play something on the guitar that was actually functional, and that's the moment it happened for him.
Right.
Um, and so had all these experiences, and then started showing all of this stuff to everybody else. Like it's from the extreme interactions, it's going on it'll be 2 years in July. And so it's just continuing to ramp up. It is becoming more and more synchronized with everybody in our group.
Right.
We can do group astral travel now. We can do group DMT experiences. Like we're teaching our class right now. We just took the class new without the DMT at all, just teaching them sacred geometry and how all of this dimensional interactions work. We took them to the moon a couple of weeks ago, which was wild. We've taken them to really special places that nobody really knows about, but the experiences that they're having, even without the molecule, is incredible. But that's even possible,
Hmm.
just validates that we've got what it feels like is it feels like I pulled a golden thread, and that it continued to pull it, and it just doesn't stop unraveling. It's just
Hmm.
more and more information continues to come out, and more of the right people show up at the right time.
Right.
um, it's all part of the big
I'm
design.
just I'm just shaking. I'm just getting such energy. Wow. It's pretty
Yeah.
incredible. Ooh. Yeah, my heart was like, whew, energy was flowing a bit back there. I'm, I haven't done a lot of psychedelics. I have had breathwork experiences where I have blissed out. I could call it a bliss out. I blissed out when I was in the Great Pyramid in the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
We were all toning, and I'm going
Yeah.
back to Egypt too. I'm going back to Egypt, and actually, I had a Akashic Records reading, and my guidance is the Raw Collective. Um,
Okay.
so I know that you are friends with Seven and her
Hmm.
mom, and
Yeah.
she channels Blue Avians. I'm a Blue
Hmm.
Avian consciousness incarnate, and uh, my point being, oh, I had an Akashic Records reading, and we talked about Karnak, the temple of Amun Ra,
Hmm.
how it needed to be freed from a lot of black magic that was done to it.
Yeah.
And so, one of my missions when I go back there again in January of next year is to free and transmute the black magic. Um,
Yeah.
the question is popping into my head. Since you began this research, have you had interference? Because you are skirting information that
Yeah.
some people might not want out there.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it interference. I've been made aware that what we're talking about is sensitive.
Okay.
And so I only talk about 15 to 20% of what all is happening publicly, because of
Mm-hmm.
that. And then we have a lot of precautions in place. We're completely decentralized. All of
Mm-hmm.
our information exists on many different servers. There's no way to stop it at this point. This is very, very protected. The beings that we deal with are significant and well known, and not. I have zero fear after everything that's happened and everything that we know, just knowing that
Perfect.
this is all going to unfold.
Perfect. No, that's wonderful. It's so resonating. I am like on fire. This is not even funny, Brad. This is very
Oh, it's not. Yeah, what is happening here is significant, and
yeah.
um, it is a common response to getting into some of this stuff. It's just like
Hmm.
there's the soul recognizes divine truth, and
Absolutely.
it's
Perfect.
it's undistorted. Like I went into this with no belief system at all. I'm well aware of belief systems, and the knowledge in ancient history and all that stuff. But I think that's part of why this has been so successful. Because when you get it, like divine communication filters through belief systems and it filters through any egregores that could be distorting it. But because I didn't have any belief system, it feels like it was more of a clear channel.
I gotcha. No, I, yes, not no, but yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I feel it. I feel it 100, I feel it 1,000,000%. It's just coming in through incredible, very incredible. So, you recently got together with a group of your DMT uh, community, and you did a trip to Mount Shasta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that and
Yeah.
some of the supernatural occurrences that happened? Because it's a beautiful, beautiful stories there.
It was wild. Okay. Last summer, um, we got coordinates from these guides, if you will call them guides. Got coordinates from them and a time to be there and nothing else. And so we plugged the coordinates in. It's at Mount Shasta. Maybe one of us had been there before, but I had never been there. And so we didn't really know what to expect. We decided that we're gonna everything had been proven out at that point in time already. The math was solid. Getting it from the perfect overlap, like everything lined up perfectly. So it was kind of that this is the moment we're gonna put both feet in the water and like, all right, we got some weird place to show up on the side of a mountain. Um, are we gonna do this? And so we all decided to go. We took 11 people out there. My dad went. He'd been working with the equations and all the stuff that we've had for so long. He was going through his own awakening, but he hadn't had anything profound happen or kind of like the extreme stuff like you'd been dealing with. So he wanted something he could see and touch. So he kind of went as a sanity check of the situation. And so we go out there. A lot of us had connected through DMT content on TikTok. And so we were experiencing similar things and it ended up all being connected, but that's the first time we'd all met in person for the most part. Like I had a few people from my group, and then we had the group that came together that was not originally like my friends or my family. And so we go out. We had two locations to go, and so we go to the first place. These are not like Panther Meadows, or if you're familiar with the area, it's not one of the typical hot spots, Pluto's Cave, or any of that, or Pluto's Cave. Um, and so we get there, and right where we're supposed to be, there is a distorted visual field in front of us, and there you can see waves of like heat looking like in a desert coming off the road, except it wasn't anything hot. But we didn't really, we're kind of weary of it at first because I mean this is not normal. But we'd known kind of an order to go through this, and so we walked through the first one, nothing happened, but another one pops up down the road or down the hill a little bit. And so we started following those, and then we get to a big one. And it's in between two giant trees. And you're supposed to state who you are and what your intent for being there was before you stepped in there. And then the moment you stepped in, it was DMT visuals. But it's DMT visuals, not because anybody's on DMT, because that wasn't happening. What is happening is you're coupling to the harmonic constant on DMT, and you're coupling to the fifth dimension. And so the same experiences were happening because we were going through dimensional thresholds. And then we went through that final one. We're in the fifth dimension with them. There are 12-foot tall beings. They're there to greet us. They were showing us all of the Lumerian temples and stuff that used to be there. There were some healings that happened. My dad had broke his toe on the day we were going out there. Um, and like bad, smashed his middle toe on the shower glass. I was like, I don't know how you're gonna climb a volcano tomorrow. He's like, I'm here, I'm gonna do it. But then working with Kirsten, working with the beings, they were able to do some healing work while we were in there, but it was because it's in a different dimension, like it was significantly more powerful. My dad had been on pain patches and pain meds for years. After pulling all of that stuff out, he was beating us, toes not broken anymore. He's beating us down the hill on the way back. I asked him to slow down, like, hey, he's like, dude, I feel good. I'm not stopping. And so he's off all pain meds completely now. and has been ever since we got back. And so it's been life-changing for him. He's had both knees replaced before that, but now he's walking miles a day. Um, it was pretty incredible. And so we were there for a while, and then the next morning it was like 4:30 in the morning, and we go to another spot. And we're all standing there in a circle, and my wife is on my left, and she said that her throat chakra started buzzing. And so she just started speaking. She couldn't tell you even right after what she said, but and we all had our heads bowed, just kind of like in a moment of reverence. And then she makes the comment, we don't keep our eyes on the ground, we keep them where they belong, which is up above. And we all look up at the same time, and there's a streak of light like 200 feet over our heads. It just comes
Ooh.
whizzing by. And then we're all just like, oh my God. But as we came down, you can see some of these interdimensional beings that they choose to show you in their Merkaba. Like they show as like an orb of light,
Mhm.
like a dim light. You could see hundreds of those. And if you had the molecule with you and you tapped it, you could see them all. And so they were all there. And basically, they said that everything up to this moment in time, or that moment in time, is a prerequisite for that moment, and that everything else was going to shift after that time. And when we started coming back, just the amount of information that started coming through everybody was just absurd.
And did you document all of it? Did you record any of it?
We weren't allowed to record it. They said we could do audio, but we weren't allowed to video record it. And so we trying to we didn't know really what to expect either. We'll be a little bit more prepared next time we do this.
Mhm.
Actually, we've got family that's been in film and TV that can help. A lot more interest now that this has been going on so long, and stuff starting to validate the things I've been saying. So who knows where this ends up? I think, but we have tons and tons of information, just mountains of documentation of what's happened. It's been wild.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know. Out of curiosity, what did the 12-foot tall beings look like?
They were Lyrans, so they were the
Oh,
cat and lion, cat humanoid bodies with cat and lion
yeah.
heads. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. What about the notion that there's Lemurian beings below Shasta? Did you encounter or sense anything from that?
We know we've been able to confirm that that is accurate, but we didn't have any interactions with them. That seemed to be. I bet if we went back, so there's 27 portals on Mount Shasta, and so if we went back, it'd be a little bit more structured. That was more of we got invited to do something and be a part of an event, and that's really how that unfolded. As
Okay.
crazy as that is to say.
Oh, no. I find it wonderful. And what about in your day-to-day life? Um, do you, do you have your own like personal, let's say, psychic gifts improved? Are you
Mm.
encountering anomalies,
Oh,
visual, spatial anomalies in your day-to-day life?
current. This would be kind of hard to explain. I'm a little bit different than everybody else. I have a ward that was placed around me, and so I am kind of blocked from doing much at the moment. It's there for a reason, and so everybody else is really ramping up. Mine's been is because of that's been a little muted.
Okay.
So I've been doing more introspective personal development things, a lot of research, a lot of outreach. Working with a company now on our medical technologies and trying to get that going. Really, it feels like we're kind of in a holding pattern. We can see kind of where things are going to be 6 months from now, but it feels like we're waiting on some big event to happen. It's kind of just standing in the way of being able to see what to step off to next. Do you feel that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you and I had connected and talked about what Chris Bledsoe brought through
Mm.
on the Star Regulus rising to the gaze of the Sphinx. And I think I had done some personal, at your prompting, channeling surrounding that question. And I really believe that there is going to be a divine feminine event.
Mm.
that's going to occur when that happens this week. Really, it's
Well,
timely, you know.
it is and it's not.
Okay.
There's some confusion at this point because he's
Okay.
revised that date and we're getting
Ah,
fall dates.
interesting. Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be an unfortunate consequence for a lot of people because people are really talking about it because it's close.
Yeah.
And he's been putting it out on podcasts recently, but he's yeah, I think there's going to I mean there's a lot lining up. There could be an event this weekend that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, but
Mm-hmm.
I the actual Star of Regulus setting on the gaze of the Sphinx is this fall. So we're
Oh,
working on that
okay.
too. Yeah, we're being guided to
Yeah.
go places just like you are. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to iron all those details out now.
It just goes to show, and when the three eye atlas thing became very popular and everybody was flipping out and thinking they're getting spiritual awakenings because of the three eye atlas, what got through with me is like, you just are so distracted by every supernatural thing, and you think it's going to be, and really the awakening is happening within. This is all about a personal awakening. There's nothing external. And I don't know if you resonate with this or not, but I don't think there's going to be too much external. I really think it's just us. And that's why I have this podcast. That's why I do what I do with my work, is to heal the mind, to raise our own personal frequencies, to be able to anchor in the new light, to be able to anchor in the new earth. And every time, excuse me if I'm ranting a bit, because I just fell into that trap. I was just like, oh, it's going to happen this weekend because it's Easter
Yeah,
weekend.
right.
And then I'm like disappointed again because it's not real. The only thing that's real is this: it's within you. It's you healing your core wounds and traumas in conjunction with your mission.
Yeah.
You guys have got a mission. I've got a mission. We all have our own missions, but it's not like, I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, any thoughts?
Yeah. So there are going to be some external things because of where there's a reason this is all happening. And
Mm-hmm.
the best the best way for me to show people, and if they wanted to go research what's happening, it's Dolores Cannon's book, Three Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what's happening. It's a deeper understanding. All the major prophecies for end times for every major religion and even indigenous peoples is starting to come true all at the same time. We're seeing a grand convergence. And so there, we know that there are a lot of interdimensional beings and craft that are actually here right now because they're watching what's about to happen. And so I do see some external influence for sure, but and I have learned like with the sun plays a major role in what is unfolding, which sends out those light codes. It's like software updates, but there seems to be things that are externally time dependent for a lot of people's awakenings, and so I think you're just going to see waves of it happen for one reason or another. Three Eye Atlas was actually an awakening event. COVID was an awakening event, and now we're getting the Epstein Files awakening event. You're starting to see how it just depends on. I don't know what one person versus the other their trigger is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and so all I can do is follow my path and my journey and do the things that I'm supposed to do, and let the universe take care of everything else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are in a co-creative reality,
Mhm.
and we are subject to the influences of the spheres of the sun. Boy,
Mhm.
this morning, my house, the opening faces east, and I was sitting on my front porch bathing in the sunlight of the sunrise, and I mean, I had about 20 minutes of light codes just pouring through me.
Mhm.
And so yeah, absolutely. It's not like I want to dismiss the external, it's impossible to. But without us actively working to heal ourselves, well, it behooves us to heal ourselves first.
Oh,
Let's just put
that's
it that way.
100%. And
Yeah.
we haven't really known a lot about that, especially one of the most fascinating things. Do you get into somatic healing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you know? I don't know what your abilities are. Are you able to see what's happening?
No.
No. Okay.
I feel everything. I feel it viscerally in my own body.
Yeah. So that's been one of the more surprising things that I've learned about all this is that there are some conditions that manifest as chronic conditions in this reality that have nothing to do with anything in this density, in this
Yeah.
dimension.
Mhm.
And so one of the healing methodologies was to try and figure out what those things are. Um, I'll use an example. Somebody was having gut issues. And so we have a person in our group that can heal and remote heal. And when she connects, a hologram shows up. And she could see where all the issues are. She's like, "Do you have gut issues?" Yeah. And she's like, "It looks like lime green." And she goes, "I want you to focus on that specifically. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?" And she's like, "Abandonment." And she's like,
Mhm.
"Okay." And keep focusing on abandonment. And then I want you to use DMT and tap in. What shows up? She's like, "A blue dragon." Like, okay. Can you talk to it? Yes. Okay. Ask it why it's there. She's like, so the response was, "I am here." They engage feedback and thought loops. And so, in the event something feels traumatic or destabilizing because of traumas in the past, these beings are attaching so that to engage these thought loops so that you go back into your fight and flight to protect yourself from being in a situation like that in the past. But when you're talking about bringing yourself to coherence and repairing soul fragmentation and all of that stuff, you can't, those can't remain. But we didn't know that that's how any of it worked. And so she was told it that thank you so much for trying to protect me. I don't need you anymore. And then he obliged and poof. And she says it's the most beautiful being she's ever seen. But ever since then, the gut issues aren't there anymore. And then the fight and flight mechanisms are softening. And so um, but that is even a thing is not it's something we don't understand. And another thing I think is going to be really big is that we have to completely reevaluate how we look at schizophrenia.
Oh yeah.
There are so many people that can see or hear their guides, and that's all that it is. And it's a veil distortion. It's some connectivity that's just been misdiagnosed because modern medicine doesn't understand it.
Hmm. Yeah, I come to understand also that it's because I have it in my family, to be
Mm.
honest. On my father's side of the family, my cousin, who is a psychic medium, even though she doesn't believe she is, but she is, her son um, has this. And what I've come to understand is that he's communicating with the parasites that live within him,
Oh, could be.
parasitic
Interesting.
consciousnesses. Yeah. I know a lot about what you're talking about, and we can talk about it offline at some point.
Yeah.
I can give you a lot of information because I've been doing this work for a very long time. And now
Mhm.
that I am a certified hypnotherapist, it yes, this is exactly what thought forms create. They
Yeah.
they they do that for you.
Hmm.
So I'm totally there. So on the topic of healing, you said you're excited to talk about it. Tell us some more about the healing technologies that you
Yeah.
are working on.
I, I can only talk about a little because of the stage that we're in and the
Mhm.
NDAs that are in place. But we touched on it briefly earlier. So it started with a prototype, taking an EEG band, placing it on your head, but you knowing what to measure. So then you're measuring internal coherence, and then we can measure that in real time, which is a significant achievement in itself. But like we started working through if you it causes your coherence to completely jump, like significantly jump, a lot more than I really expected. How to use those frequencies? Well, in the math that we have information for how the different frequencies between damaged tissue and healthy tissue, how they're different, and how to identify them, and how to have the technology phase lock into it at a quantum resonance level for advanced treatment without surgery and without medicine. And so restoring the body back to the coherent state is like step one. That gives you a vessel that is going to have the best chance for healing in a coherent state, no distortions, no out of balance, and then applying this quantum resonance in a specific location damage to whatever it is, will be able to advance your cellular and tissue repair significantly.
Mm,
So we're in the beginning stages of it now. There were some companies that have been trying to do what we have, the information work. It's just they're aiming at a target. They don't know where it's at. They have an idea. And some of these the people that we've met along this way are just brilliant, brilliant people, doing incredible consciousness research. But they're just because we have the framework of consciousness and understanding of it all, we can design things within that framework, and then it starts to unlock up so much more. It's you're not fighting anything. You're in alignment with consciousness, and that field is primary. And when you do that, that is you're going to see significant leaps in technology. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with these interdimensional beings, especially ones that you see with crafts or whatever. They understand consciousness, they understand how it works, they understand the frequency of it, and their technologies are in alignment with it, which is why they're so far advanced compared to where we are.
yeah, beautiful. We've heard the use of the words medbed before.
Yeah,
Um,
so I think you're going to see some attempts at med beds, and there's value in them. I think they're going to be incomplete, and so I think you'll see some iterations starting to roll out, pods or whatever. And as people attempting it, I think we'll be able to help that out significantly. And we're not the only ones that are getting this kind of information. This is happening to other people as well, and other we call them cohorts. And so it'd be really interesting how things unfold. But yeah, med bed technologies are going to be a thing. We're headed towards that level of advancement.
hmm.
It looks like it'll happen pretty fast once we get through whatever's about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to elevate ourselves from a more consciously in our consciousness, because we're creatures that will be like, oh, I'm just going to go out and get drunk and then go into the med bed and I'll feel all
Yeah,
much better.
yeah. Well, you for a lot of the advanced technologies that we've been given, it requires a certain coherence threshold. And so, like, you wouldn't be able to even interact with the technology unless you're at that threshold already, which means you can't do stuff like that. It wouldn't work.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah,
I
well,
love
it's
that.
yeah, yeah. We're headed to a completely new dynamic.
I love that.
This is gonna be wild to watch it unfold. It already
Yeah,
has been wild. It's gonna get wild. So
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, this is really a um, phenomenal journey, phenomenal time to be alive, right?
It's a tougher. I didn't have any of this on my 5-year plan when all of this started. But I wouldn't change it for anything at all.
Yeah. So 23, 24, 25. You've only been on this for what, 3.5 years, maybe 3 years?
Yeah, we'll call it a spiritual crash course.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
we understand so much, and we're gonna be able to help so many people. And a part of the reason we got exposed to this stuff early compared to other people is because as things unfold, we're going to be here to help guide people with what's going on and how to get through it. And um, it's, it's the most incredible journey I've ever heard of. And I'm just fortunate to share it with my family and friends and people that we've met along the way because they've just all been incredible. Just love. You can't do a lot of psychedelics like we have and be a bad person. That just doesn't work. They're all just the coolest people. It's so much fun to hang out with and just wonderful humans. But that's happened because we've done the shadow work. We've had the ego deaths over and over and over and over again. We understand how all of it works. We know that where we're headed to and the path that this is takes complete surrender, and it's nothing short of that. A lot of us have been challenged to put either our lives with health or with financial or whatever. We've been through some extreme challenges, but it's not. When you know what we know, you're not here to survive those things. You're here to learn from them and grow from them, and we've been able to do that. And feels like it's been more of a forging process to prepare us.
Hmm. And as I recall, when I first saw your work on TikTok, you were doing a fast.
Mhm.
Just briefly talk about what got you to do the fast and what did you notice afterwards?
So I was guided to do it. It had been like kind of on my radar for a little bit. You could just kind of you can tell like the universe is the synchronicities were like, hey, you should probably do this. And I knew I was going to be talking about things that were really bizarre and that were supernatural events that were happening. And I needed people to know that I was being serious about it. So I did 40 days, water only. It's one of the more challenging things I've ever done, but I'm so proud that I've done it. And I've like the first week, we're getting into like day 4, day 5, day 6, where your body switches from food fuel down to your body. You hit that autophagy stage and your body is cannibalizing itself, but it starts with the bad stuff first. But when it does that, it's burning bad fuel. And so you're really lethargic. It was mind's cloudy. There was a couple of days I couldn't post. I just did not. I felt like I had the flu, but my body started repairing itself and started. There's stuff that was coming through my sinuses that was dark and thick and like just really, really deep repair. But once you get through that stage where you're burning all of that stuff off and your body's repairing itself when it goes into burning clean fuel, it is a massive, it's your um endless energy. Like I was just bouncing off the walls some days. Just I hadn't eaten in 3 weeks. Just the way that it had all worked out. And my mind was moving super clear. I tried to do DMT while I was on it. I just couldn't take it. I got really nauseous. And so I just kind of abstained from that. I'd gotten off all nicotine at that point, and it was life changing. It really made me realize one of the hardest parts was actually after it was over, trying to go back and find foods that actually made you feel good. Because even the stuff that I thought was healthy was making me feel bad. And so just kind of had to reevaluate. Like over the last 6 months, I've been going through some really stressful stuff and I've kind of slid back. I probably need to re-engage that. But I couldn't encourage people more to do like that, and sun gazing in the morning and at night are two things that I remember telling my parents I was going to do a 40-day fast, and they're like, "You're going to die." It's like, no, based off my research, I don't think so. Um, but it's just a complete physiological reset. It was just incredible. But yeah, it was really, really incredible to go through that. And now I've got a much better understanding of what we put in our bodies and the problems that we have in our food supply system. And that's not me being a hippie. That's just from personal experience. That is something that's very, very real. And then you get into the metaphysical aspects of factory farming, and how the energies and the environments they're in metaphysically transmutes into the food, which then as you eat it transmutes into you metaphysically. And we haven't really understood as a society how much of an impact that actually has on our soul and our coherence.
Yeah. I started to pray over my food, this little prayer. And like I said, I start to feel things in my body. And when I do energy work, I cough. I'm like the guy on the Green Mile.
I know I have a friend that's the same way. It's yeah, the
Yeah, I
cough
just
lung.
begin. That's how I purge energy.
Yeah.
It's like I'll take it in and I'll cough it out. And whenever I pray over food, especially meats,
Mhm.
I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking. Like everything, I just do this little prayer where I thank the food, and how I try to release the karma incurred through gratitude for the nourishment it's providing me. And whenever I do that, my palms go hot, I
Mhm.
cough. Even lettuce, I mean, even like all this other stuff with the toxins that we're just breathing and it's raining down upon us. It's really awful. So I totally get that. Brad, this has been an amazing
Yeah.
conversation. And is there anything else you want to tell the audience, maybe future events and where they can find you?
Yeah, so I stick primarily to TikTok. So I'm Brad of Arc on TikTok. That's the easiest way to reach me there. We are teaching classes how to do this. Those starting in January. We've been having a lot of fun with that. If anybody's interested in that, just shoot me a message on TikTok. I'll get you all the details about it. But we're in for a wild ride, and I feel like we're at the threshold of it. And I think we're going to start seeing some major shifts that are going to be very visible. We're going to continue to see chaos. You're going to see the things that have been manipulating us as a society are going to continue to come to the surface, so that they can be wiped away. And it's we're I can't wait. I have an inkling of where this is headed, and I know it's going to be incredible. And like we said earlier, just what a time to be alive, just to be able to have the opportunity to witness what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. All right. So, everybody, thank you for sticking around. Thank you, Brad, again for being here with me. And my name again is Anne Marie Morales. You can check out all of my offerings on ammhypnotherapy.com. Take care, everyone. Until next time.
Thanks.